Hello everyone. Now that was a rather unexpected start because I clicked the wrong button. However, it will lead me very nicely into this, which is, if you haven't signed the petition, please do so, and I will explain in 1 minute why. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, hello, wherever you are in the world. It is time for another live stream. So it is Sunday night, and tonight we're going to be talking about a few things. We're going to talk a bit about this DJI thing. We're going to talk about the situation with the V2 goggles with the Avata, because I get a lot of people asking me what the situation is with this. So I thought I would just do it as a part of the video, which I will probably try and cut and share on the channel later. We're not going to be going in too much into the routing and the WTFOS at the moment, and there's a very good reason for that, and that is because it isn't quite ready for the prime time yet. That's not my decision. That is from the amazing devs that are involved. There will be a proper video coming from probably all of the KOLs who are into the DIY side, at least when it's ready. But when it is, we will do it. We're just waiting for the amazing guys to give us the go-ahead. So then we're going to talk about Express ELRS, and there's lots of stuff to talk on that as well. I hope you are all safe and well where you are in the world. It's been a very weird week, that is for sure. I can see the chat. Good evening, Paul. I saw you come in. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, Bruce. Cool, second in. Hello. Paying respects to the deceased queen. Yeah, it's been a weird week. A weird week. And look, I'm not a big monarchist, or I'm not a big person who thinks it's a good thing or a bad thing, but that person has been a person in my life ever since I can remember, in the sense of, you've heard the name on TV, you've heard it, you know, it's weird. It's really weird, and it's a shame, but we wish her all the best, and it doesn't affect me, but it is weird. It's a weird feeling, and whether you agree with the monarchy or not, it's you know, it's a person you go, oh, there's the queen. It will be similar when some of the big people I grew up watching pass away. It'll be say, you know, McCartney's an example. When McCartney goes, people will have some strange feelings on that one. So yeah, it's weird. So we've had that this week, and there's been a lot going on. I'll be honest, it's been a very, very strange week. Now, good evening to everyone in the chat. I want to say a massive thank you for you all joining me. I'm just looking across at the monitor right now. I really do need to set my monitors up better so I can look at the... I'm looking at the monitor, which means I'm not looking at the camera. But let me just check it. I almost didn't have it tonight because I couldn't find the connector. Chris Ultra's back in stock. No, I don't think it is. Good evening, good evening, good evening. So there's a lot to talk about. Now, the first thing I am going to talk about is what I showed on the screen at the start, and that is this, which is the petition for the DJI Goggles 2 to support the Air Unit and the Air Unit Lite, aka Vista and RunCam Link. Now, I put a video out in the week, so I don't want to spend too much time on this because I have a video on it. And my thoughts are at the moment is, please do continue to sign the petition. We've had the... I don't know what term to use for these bunch of guys, because some of them are KOLs, some of them are dealers, some of them are KOLs and dealers. If you take Drew, for instance, he's both a KOL and a dealer. So it's a mix. There are some of the more prominent people in FPV who communicate with DJI have been told by their representative at DJI that they're going to bring support. But that means jack crap. And that's nothing against the people. It's nothing against the person that's told them that. Just bearing in mind DJI's history I don't trust anything that's not in black and white. And even when it's in black and white, it still may not happen. And just to give you an idea on this, just to tell you a little story, the Inspire 2 launched after the Inspire 1 with an all-new camera system. The Inspire 1 had the option of using the Osmo to actually have a handle for the camera. So take the camera off the drone and use it as a camera, and you had an Osmo Pro, which allowed you to put the X5 on that, or the X5R if you had one of them. At the launch of the Inspire 2, in all of DJI's publicity and on their website for the following almost 3 years, they said they will be bringing a ground-based handle for the cameras on the Inspire 2 as well. After about 3 years, they edited the website to take it away, and it never happened. So, even when they publish stuff, it doesn't necessarily happen. With the launch of the Inspire 2 was another product called Track Antenna. You may not have heard of this. They launched it and then deleted it within 2 months because no one bought it. It was launched at the same time as the Inspire 2. No, actually, I think it was launched at the same time as the Syndense remote, actually, not the Inspire 2. And again, full documentation, it never existed. So there are times and times again where DJI say things and it hasn't happened. They said, one of their reps said they're going to bring ProRes RAW support for the X5S on the Inspire 2. Never happened. So the reality is this. Until it happens, it doesn't exist. And nothing I'm saying is to detract from Drew. I know Ken backed it up as well at Dobo because he was told the same. Nick and whoever all these guys are. There's nothing against them. 100% they've been told this by DJI. What I'm a little surprised at is that they were so quick to run out and say it's coming. Now, what that shows, and I don't mean that they've not come out and said, look, we've been told this, but be careful. They come out and said, this is happening. Now, JB has lived this pain, if I remember, on this video out thing on the goggles too. So he's been here. He's not dull enough now, and I don't mean he was dull before, but he's not naive with regards to how DJI operate in going out and saying that now. And look, DJI could make these guys look a bunch of plonkers in this. So they need to be a bit more careful. And that's just a piece of genuine advice from me to them. It's nothing they've done wrong, but running out and screaming it from the rooftops as it is happening is asking for trouble unless you know 100%. And I mean 1,000,000%, as in it's released. And that's the thing. And even then, how will this look? Is this going to be just backwards compatibility and it's going to work just like the V2s? Are you going to have 1200 milliwatts mode? Are you going to have FCC hacks? Is it all going to work exactly the same? Or could DJI do something like bring out new firmware for the ear units that work with the new goggles rather than the goggles work with the ear units, and then you lose all of the hacks and some other features? So it isn't as simple as just thinking, oh, we're now going to have what we have on the V1s and 2s. We need to wait and see. And that's my opinion on it. And as such on this, my advice is sign the petition. Let's keep the pressure up. Let's not let it fall away. So that's my stance on it. And again, I sincerely hope DJI don't screw these guys because they don't deserve it. But they could get bitten on this just based on my past experience with DJI. The best one was the handle for the Inspire 2. It was like 2+ years it was still on the website as coming soon. But this is the funny thing. the FPV community isn't fully aware of DJI. I've been involved with DJI gear since 2013. I've seen all of this stuff replay itself, but for FPV, it's all new and shiny and DJI and, oh yeah, they're making cool stuff. Yes, but they also have a habit of screwing people over at times as well. So let's not forget that. Now, someone said, is JB here at all? I doubt it. I don't think JB watches my streams. Let's just have a look. I'm reading up on the chat. Come on, Bruce says, DJI reintroduced tripod mode after that petition. Hold on. No, they didn't. Although they've said they would. Exactly. DJI is going to make razors. Someone mentioned JB was on one tonight. I caught a very short period of his live stream. I was drifting on through and I clicked on it and he happened to be talking about the goggles too. And I don't think he liked what I said about the connector. What can I say? I'm going to send the mission immediately. Again, right. I'm going to be honest with you guys here, right? I have played a certain path with some of the things I've said. Okay. I put a comment up about this, and I've done things in a certain order, and I put this comment up on a couple of the groups when this all first happened and said, guys, just sign the petition. There is a path that I have found in the past works quite well to get DJI to react. And I'm not saying it always works, but there is a path to follow, and that is the path we're on now. And if we get this, it will be as a result of all of the amazing work from the community, as a result of various people highlighting this issue, not just me. Yes, I highlighted it in a video, but it will be several. It's about pressure in a certain way. But doing nothing was only ever going to achieve nothing. But if we do get this, it will be 100% down to the work the community has done. That's for sure. I can promise you that. Hi, buddy. Good evening, Fly Zone. So, that's the start. That's the beginning of that. So the next thing I want to talk about, and I'm going to reach down and grab them, is these. The DJI FPV goggles version 2. Now, these actually aren't the DJI FPV goggles version 2. These are the version 1s, because I no longer have V2s, and I'm trying to buy a set right now. If anyone knows of a good price set of V2s in the UK, please let me know, because everywhere is just trying to rip me off. But we're going to talk about the V2s. They look like them, so pretend. And the Avata drone, because there's a lot of people confused on what to do. Okay, so what I want to do is explain what the situation is. So, officially, the V2 goggles support the Avata after updating to the latest firmware. On the current original firmware, the goggles will not work with the Avata. You have to update the firmware. However, as a result of updating that firmware, you are potentially locking yourself out from the working with the root exploit and WTF OS, which gives you the custom OSD. Now, it isn't all doom and gloom, but there is a path you need to follow, and there are some things that you need to understand, and it does get complicated on the V2s because there's two firmwares on these goggles. There's the DIY mode firmware, and then there is the drone mode firmware. And the drone mode firmware dictates what you can actually do. So, what I'm going to do is put a chart up on the screen. Now, I know Blunty has a chart, but I've created my own a minute because it takes into account the current situation today. And I'm probably going to be sharing this on my Discord server. And let me just get this to zoom in, and then I'll put it up so you guys can see it as well. And I'm going to walk you through what the current situation is and then come back and explain. Okay, so the FPV goggles version 1 is all fairly straightforward. They support the air unit in Vista. They will not support the O3 air unit. They do not support the FPV drone or the DJI Avata. All firmware versions on the V1 support FCC and 1200 hacks. They are fully routable up to the latest release firmware today, which is 01.00.0606. So the V1 goggles, there is basically nothing to worry about at all right now. With the V2s, this is where things get complicated. They do support the air unit in Vista. We believe they're going to support the OcuSync 3 air unit. It's unconfirmed at this time. They do support the FPV drone, and they do support the Avata on the new firmware version 01.03.0000. That's actually meant to be 4 zeros. There. Okay, onwards. All firmware versions, including this new firmware version here, when looking at it in the drone mode, support the FCC and 1200 milliwatts hack in DIY mode. They also support the FCC hack for the Avata and the FPV drone. This is where things get complicated, is support for the root and WTF, I've spelled that wrong as well. Look at this. I gotta change that. WTFOS. Now, you can see there, it says C chart, because this is where it gets a bit complicated, and that is this chart here. Now, the key bit to understand is you need to look at the V2 goggles in drone mode, not air unit DIY mode. All firmware versions up to 0201 in drone mode support root I spelt it wrong there as well, WTFOS, and downgrades. Version 0220 does not support routing. However, you can downgrade the firmware to an earlier version that does support routing. The way you downgrade that is not actually in drone mode, is actually in air unit mode. So if you're on version 01020020, place the goggles in air unit mode and downgrade via Assistant 2, and then you will have all of this capability. Now, here is where there is a real quirk in the firmware release info for DJI Goggles version 2. We have version 01020015. Whilst that is an earlier number, that actually came out after the firmware for 020. It's an earlier number, but it was released after. And the reason DJI have done this is to instigate anti-rollback, as you can see here. If you are on version 020015, you cannot roll back, you cannot root, you cannot use WTFOS at this time. This week, we've then had this new firmware release, which is 01030000, which again, you cannot root and hack. However, this is where it gets interesting. As long as you are on one of these versions here, okay, highlighted, so 00 to 020, you can downgrade 020 to 01. So as long as you're on these versions here, you can perform the root hack and then upgrade to this version here, and the root hack will stay. Whilst the root will stay, you still won't be able to use WTFOS at this moment in time, but that will change in the future when the guys get around it. So the easiest way to explain this is this. If you root these before going up to the next firmware, the root will remain in place even on that firmware, and you will have the options in the future of being able to possibly use WTFOS and have all of those DIY mode niceties. If you don't root before you upgrade to them, though, you will be stuck at this moment in time. So for people with an Avata who want to upgrade their V2 goggles to work with this drone, but want to protect themselves, you need to be on one of those firmware versions first that you can root your goggles, and then upgrade, and the root will stay in place. The only downside, though, is if you want to be able to use that custom OSD with the V2s and use it with the Avata, you cannot at this time. So you are left in a choice. Sorry, you're left with a difficult choice. You either have to accept you lose that, but with the option of it coming back, or you don't upgrade them. Now, it is a complicated situation. It is quite awkward to describe this, but the very basics are, again, if I go on the desktop, if you're on any of the versions in green and you want to upgrade and you don't worry about the option to use the custom OSD at this time, just root and then do it, and you can come back to it later. If you're on version 01.02.0020, downgrade in DIY mode via Assistant 2, do the root hack, then upgrade to 01.03.0000. If you're on any of these two here in red, though, you're already stuffed at this moment in time. It is a complicated situation. Just jumping over the chat, where'd you get the root? I'm not going to go into that today, okay? And there's a reason. I've been asked not to publicize this yet. Today's task is to explain what the situation is. If you want to go looking for it, it's out there. I don't want to push it because I've been asked not to. If you go searching for it, it is available. It is out there. But I've been specifically asked not to drive too much traffic to their website at this time. Okay? And I'm going to cut this later, so I don't want to push it. And that is the current situation. So you can use the V2s. You should be okay. What about the people who bought the Avatar drone with older goggles version 2 already updated to the Avatar firmware? Yeah, you'll be stuffed. If they have... I don't know what the Avatar firmware-wise is coming with on the V2s. That would be something interesting to see. I bet you they ship with a pre-release firmware. I would try downgrading that. If you got an Avata with the V2s, if you got one of these, let me know what firmware versions you've got in DIY mode and Avata mode. But also, I would try downgrading in DIY mode and see if it lets you. I wouldn't be shocked if it was a pre-release firmware that might allow you to do it. Often DJI do ship brand new products with pre-release firmware on. Jimmy Throt, what are the best antennas? We will talk about that for the Avatar system. Cool Cat, you'll be stuffed. Yeah, you're not in a good position at that point. You're not in a good position. Now, none of this at the moment is really set in stone, in the sense of we don't know that there won't be future root hacks for these. We don't know, but they're not working on them yet. Now, something else on this chart, just to show it up. I haven't got my other camera. My thing isn't working today. NVIDIA isn't working. You can see down here, I've labeled up on the ear unit the situation with them as well and what the versions are. And you can also see over here on this one, I've added the goggles too with some of the current situation info as well. But again, this is going to evolve very, very quickly. We need to update it. It's going to change very, very quickly, all of this. A bit chilly. It's quite warm in here now, actually, and more warmer than I would like. I'm getting hotter because I got a cup of tea. I've got a cup of tea and Welsh cakes today, for those who haven't seen the overhead. My favourite Welsh cakes, because I am from Wales, from Tannacastle, if you haven't seen these things. It's a stodgy cake bun type thing with currants. If you haven't tried them, they are amazing. They really are. I'm going to eat now. Best YouTuber on YouTube. In the FPV community. You don't see this on Bardwell. Shemai Butt. Beth Whiting Blue, Bruce. Welsh food, not British. Qualamatic. I'm going to have to stop eating. Oh, yes. Yeah, Mac is all over the place right now. You need to do it on a PC, my friend. I'm sorry, but you need to do it on a PC. Visit my OnlyFans page. Yes, Bruce. Definitely. I definitely need to fix NVIDIA as well. Let's see if this works. NVIDIA Broadcast. Let's see if this actually kicks in. Do you know, it plays up all the time, NVIDIA Broadcast. You cannot rely on it to work. You really cannot rely on it to work. I bet it's changed camera again. Yep, there it is. Let's see if it kicks in, shall we? 1, 2, 3. Are you going to work today, NVIDIA? Oh, it's thinking about it. It's thinking about it. It's thinking about it. It's thinking about it. From St. Lucia, how are you, my friend Sheldon? How are you? So, if there's any questions on the V2s, please let me know, and I will try and answer them. Yeah, this is definitely not working today. Cheers, NVIDIA. Hey, we're there. Oh, look, that's good. I'm now a square box. Is that NVIDIA broadcast? Look at that. Look, unbelievable. It just does not work at all at times. Shocking. Okay, so that's the DJI stuff. I'm just going to try one more time to see if this kicks in, because it would be nice to have it. We're going to go back to the desktop. And no, you're going to have to put up without me today. Oh, well, that is what it is. Does the ham support hacks also give 1200 milliwatts with the V2 goggles on the original FPV drone? We're not 100% sure, Bruce, on the original FPV drone. There is a lot of confusion over this. Right, I've done the tests on the Avatar on the bench, and I can tell you without doubt the RF power increases. Now, I just did this before coming on stream for someone who asked. This will not tell you what that drone is doing, so don't even think about using this. It doesn't do it. Don't worry about it. It's nothing to do with this. It's just the way that drone works. So people trying to measure the Avatar's output change using this thing, complete waste of time. On a spectrum analyzer, trust me, there's a huge difference. Now, there are question marks over the FPV drone because I'm seeing massive conflicting reports. My belief is as follows. If it unlocks the channels, it should give the increased output as well. What that increased output is, we don't know, because it's very hard to measure the output on the drone, but we know it does something. Is it 1200 milliwatts? I don't know. What it is going to give you is more power. It's a lot more power looking at it on the analyzer. But there are people saying, Bruce, they're not seeing any benefit from it. But then again, I don't know. You know, it is not possible to measure the Avatar on the bench with that meter. That I can say. I know people have measured the FPV drone with it. Complete waste of time on the Avatar. I have tried today. And it just doesn't do anything. Does ham even need support in these hacks? Are so confusing. Ham is... Look, ham appears to be 4 channels, 4 power. Whatever that full power is. We don't know what it is, but it's definitely more than C 25 milliwatts. I can promise you that. It's a dramatic amount more. I don't have a video on how to route yet. That will be coming in the future. I just want to say a massive thank you to Daniel Williams for the super chat. £2. That is amazing, my friend. Love the channel. Just wondering if you could help. Have you asked a question? Have you, Dan? Let me just, I need to go back up and have a look now. I'm trying to find my mouse pointer. If you have, can you post it again? Because it might have got lost. Oh, there he goes. I'm just wondering if you can help me. I ordered a Happy Model RX from 5 last week, but when it turned up, the receiver antenna was missing and VTX wasn't working. The TX1 pad is damaged. Ooh. I would reach out to Happy Model. Ugh. What should you do? How did you pay? Okay, look, it's really simple. If you've paid in a genuine way, if you've paid and it came that way, and you paid with PayPal, speak to PayPal. If it's a genuine one, is the route for OST use on the V2 goggles? Yes. Yeah. I don't know anyone at Happy Model at all. I have no input into Happy Model whatsoever. I would contact them again and just say, no, that's not what happened. And if you pay by PayPal, I'd raise it on PayPal. Ian, can the DJI Goggles 2 connect to Wi-Fi or connect to HDMI to send receive video? Yes. Okay, cool, Cat. So that's actually a really good question. I'm going to do a video on this, actually. Let me just grab them. Let me move my cup of tea. Overhead. So the Goggles 2 from DJI. Now these have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth built in. You can stream to these goggles from Wi-Fi via the DLNA protocol. However, it isn't working quite like you would have DLNA on other machines. This will not pick up your server. So if you have a server at home with lots of stuff on it, you can connect these to your Wi-Fi, but it won't find the server. What you need to do is have an app or a PC app that will allow you to choose where you stream the video to. Think of it a bit like Chromecast, but it isn't working with Chromecast or Apple, when you share with Apple. You need an app that will do that on your phone, tablet, or whatever. Now, I've downloaded one on my phone called, let me just find it. I've got the free version, but TV Cast. So this app, now this is a paid app. Continue limited version. And the way this works is, if the goggles are on the same Wi-Fi network, it will allow me to stream to them. So let me just power it up, and we will show you this live. So, power the goggles on, and take the display off. We'll just wait for them to kick in a minute. And what we will have to do is, A, make sure it's on the Wi-Fi network, which I have connected it to the Wi-Fi network here before, so let me just check it. Okay, so let me just flip that antenna up because it catches the pads. So I've gone into status. No, I haven't. I need to go down to more. Wireless streaming mode. Okay, so I'm just waiting a minute, and I'm just going to see if it connects. Oh, I've reset the goggles. I've got to put my key in. One moment. This is a bit of a task. I have to put them on my head for this. I forgot I reset the goggles and lost the key. So let me just do this. How do I get back to letters? Oh, I've lost letters. How do you get letters? Right, let me do that again. The keyboard was showing numbers and not letters. I did this the other day. Why is it? Oh, is it that way? No. The keyboard, right, is showing me all symbols and everything, but I can't figure out how to get to letters. Oh, got it. Sorry. 60. You have to get it back. That's not intuitive. There are some real quirks on this goggles at times. 2 seconds, nearly there. One more, and they're fogging already. Right, let's see if they connect. 2 seconds, they're fogging up already. Look at this, right? Unbelievable. Overhead, I don't know if you guys can see, the lenses are just fogging instantly. Okay, so they are now on the Wi-Fi. So they're on the Wi-Fi, and they have an ID for the goggles on the display. So if we go back to the overhead, so what I can now do is in a browser window on my phone. So let me just go to YouTube on my phone. I don't want to go to the app. I just want to go to the YouTube website. Accept all. And what we're going to search for is, let's search for gamers. Actually, I don't want to use GN. Let's search for Geeks Farner. Actually, let's use XJet. He'll do a, he's bound to do a, we're going to watch the advert now for this channel called XJet. Don't know if you know a guy. Some old miserable git in that side of the world, apparently. Okay, so we just need to get past the adverts. There we go. So, okay. So I've started that a minute. We'll ignore. So if I go back to that app, okay. So let me just find it a minute. I've lost it. TV cast. So, cast web video. So what I'm going to do is click on that. We're going to choose where I want it to go to. Disconnect, because it's picked up my telly, look, automatically. And you can see now at the bottom here, my display's very dim tonight. There. It's picked up my TV in the house, but we've then got ZV900 8K That is the DJI goggles. So if I click on that, right, and then it will allow me watch ads. I've got to watch an ad because this is a paid version of the app, which I haven't bought yet. So we've just got to wait for this to happen. If you buy the app, you don't get all of this. Reward granted. There we go. So it says synchronizing video, please wait. And now, no, go away. It's now playing in here. And now it's actually playing the instructions of how to do it. So if I stop that, go back. Web browser, personal media. You can do screen mirroring as well. So web browser. And you can do it from here. Sorry, it was from here. I forgot how to use the app. Go to YouTube. Here we go. Sorry, I'm doing it from here now. Oh, YouTube. Bloody hell. Oh, no. No. Accept all. Ah! Right. Bloody YouTube. Honestly. Right. Search. XJet. XJet. There we go. Click on there. We're going to get past the advert a minute. And then tap here at the bottom to cast the video once I get past the ads. 1 second. Right. We're going to tap that. Again, because this is a paid app, I've got to watch the ad. But if you had the paid app, you wouldn't have to watch the ad. Synchronizing. There we go. Bruce is now on the goggles. You can hear it coming out the speakers on the goggles. The audio is actually really good on these goggles. And it's very hard to show you, but I'm looking at Bruce through the goggles now. More space in the V2 goggles. Yes, Bruce. There's definitely more space. If I go to the overhead, I can't really easily show you, but I can promise you. Let me put my finger over there. You can see there he is. Where is he? There you go. So, there you go. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. So, the quirks of this are you cannot search for the devices you have your videos on the goggles. You have to stream to them. That's how it works. It's a bit more complicated. It also will not stream directly from YouTube app. You can't do that. You have to have a DLNA app, something like TV Cast. Just, yeah, but they fog really quickly. So, okay, that explains that. If you can get it in a browser, it will stream, is all I'm going to say. I am sweating. I'm going to take my top off. It's very cramped in there. I remember Bruce just said that. So, cool. That is that. Okay, guys, the next thing to talk about. And before we do that, I just want to say, if you found this video interesting, please do give it a like. Because there's 234 of you here. But there's only 37 likes. So, anyway, and if you've got any questions, please do put them in the thing. ELRS 3.0 has released, and this is a biggie because there is lots and lots of changes here. So much is improved. So much is improved. You've now got FLRC. We've got better modes. We've got full resolution channels. Instead of just 4+8, we've now got support for 10-bit channels in either 8, 12 or 16 modes, depending on the hertz rate, 100 to 333, using LoRa modulation. You've got listen before talk for EU. We've got increased precision over 2 times modes with 25% better stick precision. And there's lots of other little changes. But there's also some big ones in here. There is an update for SPI receivers, and you can get it in Betaflight if you download a custom version now as well. We have proper PWM servo support. Not only was it 4 channels plus 1 switch now, it is far more channels. You can have up to 5 servo channels and allowing individual servo rates as well. Lots and lots of really amazing improvements in this. There really, really is. Now, the interesting thing is they now have support for this proper PWM receivers. And I actually have some of the Radio Master PWM receivers. Let me just grab one. I'll show you one. I have a video on this coming probably tomorrow. But we now have support for these. If I go on the overhead, which is the new Radio Master ER5A and ER5C, which is the proper ELRS, and these are direct PWM receivers which support direct output from the chipset with up to 5 channels. And it's nice to see PWM finally hitting ELRS properly. It's 4 channels at the moment plus 1 switched, but under ELRS it will do 5. PWM. Under ELRS 3.0 it will do 5. So we have these right now ready to go. 6.6 grams, super lightweight. And these are amazing quality. I've torn these down. You'll see that in the video. We tear them down. And look, Radio Master are just smashing it out the park. PWM for wings, cars, boats, anything that you need a physical servo output for. 4.5 to 8.4 volts, I think it was off the top of my head, and they support HV servos as well. Cars, boats, planes, wings, anything you need a servo output for. Really, really good to see these now on the market. There are other ones out there, but these are the direct ones. So these aren't using another chipset to do the conversion. These are direct PWM, and they're just, you know, Radio Master are smashing it out the park right now. They really are. With the update, do I update the radio? Yes, you would need to update the TX module in your TX16. And you will need to update the Lua script as well, because you do need the Lua script as well. There's a new Lua script on ExpressLRS 3, just to put that up there. So you do need the Lua, which is version 3 Lua, but it is backwards compatible, the version 3 Lua as well. Really good to see it. I haven't updated myself yet, but so many improvements in this one. What I'm probably going to do is just hang back a little bit and just to see if there's a 3.1 anytime soon, but I don't think there is. Or I might just go to 3.0 and hang on that for a while. It's looking good. It's looking really, really good. Now, something I did when I downloaded the new configurator and everything, and this is something I'm just going to say, is if you're going to use ExpressLRS, please do consider supporting the project via their Open Collective account. You can donate to the project via this as well. You can do it here to support the project in everything they do. There are many, many people who support the project on a regular basis. I've not donated a dramatic amount, but I have donated a little bit. But you can see there are many, many people down here who have donated. What I try to do is just chuck a little bit of money every single time I download the new software. And if you're interested in supporting the project as well, there is a link to this out there. And in fact, I'll put the link to this in the chat as well. We would not have the amazing software we have from these guys without the amazing work that they do. So please do check it out. Now, there is a lot in here. And look, there's a lot of interesting stuff in this release when you dig into it. There's a lot of little changes. We've now got FLRC mode. We've now got the improvements as well. And they've done something really nice. They now have an auto mode for the telemetry rate. So depending on the frequency rate you choose would depend on the best telemetry rate, and you can adjust the telemetry rate independently, but they've now introduced an auto mode which will automatically balance that for you as well. So it's really good to see. And whilst we have had PWM before, I think we're probably going to start to see ExpressLRS really push into those other areas now with like fixed wing as well. There's no reason not to consider it with fixed wing models with PWM outputs now too, unless you need more channels. That's going to be the only real limiting factor. And if you need more channels, then you could use this with a converter. Yeah, it is a different animal, and people need to understand the differences. You know, if you're coming from Crossfire, ExpressLRS on 2.4 isn't necessarily going to be out and out better. You have to understand that there are differences between how they behave. You know, you got the frequency difference for starters. You know, 2.4 can't magically just beat or be equal to 900 megs. It's just not going to happen. If you started FPV today, which radio system would you go with? ExpressLRS. 100% ExpressLRS. Starting today, ExpressLRS. End of. No more negotiation. I haven't used Ghost, so I can't comment on Ghost. I believe it does a lot of really nice stuff. I believe there are a lot of people that use Ghost and are very happy with it overall. There is SPI updates on version 3, and there is a pull request in Betaflight already. If you go onto this, they say here, users of SPI all-in-one boards can maintain compatible boards, maintain modes. Flight controllers can be used. You can update here on your flight controller. So you can go on Betaflight to this pull request, and this will have the latest version which you can download. It isn't in the release yet, but you can download the targets from here, from the unified targets. So test targets against the daily builds are here. And then you can download it and update your receiver to it as well. But I have to say, ExpressLRS has come on a long, long way. A long, long way. It's really, really good. It really is right now. I can get away with using 4 channels for most things. I can mix the rudder into the ELRS, even use crow braking on the... Yeah, well, you'll have 5 now. If you go to 3.0, you'll have 5. What's the most range anyone's got on an EP1? If you go on the Express LRS range charts, they'll show you. It is quite incredible what people have had. There's been like 35 kilometers on some of these small receivers. If you search for Express LRS range, right? Right, so if we go to the desktop, do they tell you the receiver? Oh, they don't tell you the receiver model. People have gone 40 kilometers. Oh, no, sorry, that's a 900. 10 kilometers on 10 milliwatts. $100 milliwatts. People have got some silly numbers, like 35 kilometers. There's some big, big numbers here. There really are. Penetration compared to 900, so you still fail. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. It's really hard to compare ExpressRS to Crossfire when you're talking 2.4 to 900 megs, as Bruce has said there. You go behind a hill, you're going to lose signal. There's no magic answer to that. Unlike with 900, if you go down below the horizon, you might still get a bit of life. I have failed Express LRS 300 meters away from me behind a solid mud hedge. It will happen. You can still have that happen. Professionals must use Crossfire. Crossfire is a really solid link. Let's not pretend it's not. It's so much easier to update ExpressRS now, especially with the Wi-Fi firmware upgrades as well. You can just throw the file on and just let it go. It's so easy. It's just more convenient. Why do people use 2.4 instead of 900? It's just overall more convenient. 2.4 in ExpressLRS especially has won because of a lot of cheap hardware that's available to support that. You know, it's using the SX1280 chipset. It's using an ESP8285. It doesn't really need anything magical compared to 900 megs, which needs more dedicated hardware. So the reason you've seen 2.4 gig ExpressLRS explode is because it can be made for $10. It's that simple. You know, the 900 meg stuff has to have different chipsets, and it gets a bit more complicated at that point. That's the biggest reason of choice. Crossfire is a hell of a good system. It is very, very good. If I was building an out-and-out long-range aircraft, I'd probably still use Crossfire. Or if I needed something with the best possible penetration, I would probably just pick up Crossfire off the shelf. It's simple. I have Crossfire here if I need it for that. Free Range Chicken FPV, thank you for the $9.99 super chat. That's amazing, my friend. And Mike Bergman, thank you for $5 super chat. Have I any luck making the Zorro TX12 gimbals LEDs? No, I haven't had a chance, Mike. It's on one of those jobs that's in my head. As I'm heading into winter, it's probably going to be a winter job. I've got an idea of how to print it out of clear resin. What I need to do is replace the metal discs. So you've got metal discs in the Zorro, and I need to replace them. Yeah, ExpressRS 900 will be good, and there is good 900 gear out there as well. It's crazy. Okay, so couple of other things I just want to talk about, guys. If you have any questions, please do put them in the chat. If there's anything you want to ask me, please do let me know. I am here to answer your questions as well. A couple of other things this week just to share with you. First of all, my new sticks have arrived for the bloody DJI remote. The sticks that DJI supply are just too short, so I got these off Amazon. They finally arrived this week, so I now have some proper sticks on the FPV remote so I can fly it with the Avata. I'll be honest, right? I think I prefer the Avata with the motion controller. It's a more fun drone with the motion controller. Just an interesting observation. you fly the Avata with a motion controller, and it's all sort of fresh and new, and you think, this is cool, I'm going to go through the gaps, and you've got the little crosshair on the screen, or where you want it to go, and you do all of that, and you start doing some cool, smooth style flying, and it's all really good. You then sort of fly it with this thing, and it just becomes like another drone, and you sort of just don't really think it's anything particularly great or bad. It's just like another drone, any drone. But with the motion controller, it feels a bit more special. It's strange. It's weird. But I'll be honest, I couldn't get on with the sticks being so short. I was all over the place with it. I just needed to change it. And I need to change the rates as well. I was shared some rates I want to try. It's been basically raining here ever since, so I haven't had a chance. But I've got some proper sticks now, much better length on them. Will make much better overall. But yeah, simple as that. Quad City Bay Area, thank you for the $5 super chat. Walksnail current firmware was removed. Do I know what happened? No, I have asked. Let me check my phone, see if anything's changed. I did ask. Let me see if I've had a message back. I don't believe I've had a message at this time, but it's a wrong time zone for China. No, I haven't had a reply. I have asked Walksnail, but I haven't been told why. They did have some issues with the first version of the firmware, and they quickly replaced it with another one. But there have been sporadic reports of people saying it's not saving the settings properly. And I've seen about 5 posts on this now. It might be relating to that, but I don't know for sure. Now, I haven't actually flown this new firmware yet. I was going to do it today, and it's been raining. So I haven't actually flown it to see what it's like. It had some pretty big updates in it, some good to see updates in it as well, but I haven't had a chance to actually put it through its paces to understand what it's like. Now, this actually leads me onto a nice subject, actually, and I need to just find it because I never thought about this, and this is a comment I want to make because I have slagged them off for this. Let me just find it, and this is regarding... Oh, I don't want to open that. That's the wrong app. I hope this don't kill the live stream with it. Let me close that very quickly. That was the Spectrum Analyzer app, and that will go horribly wrong if I open that. Let me just find it. The FCC filings for the Avatar system have begun to appear. They're not all up. They're not all there. Let me just find it. I'll show you guys on the screen. Here we go. So we do now start to have FCC filings for their equipment. We have for the VTX, but not the goggles at the moment, but we now have an official FCC ID, which is 2A78Z-Avatar. And in here, we have the test reports and some of the other information as well, but it doesn't look complete to me at the moment. But we do now have them beginning to publish the reports. Let me just close that. And then we even have the internal images, which we've seen already. We know what this looks like. There's nothing new going to be here because we've already seen it, because I've uploaded these to repair.wiki already. But we do have the test report in place for their equipment, which is good to see. Interestingly, what I meant to look at on this was what was the date code on the VTX they sent. Let me just open that image up. Down seconds. I want to have a look at... That's not worked. Where is that? Let me zoom in. What's the date code on that? Week 15, 22. So week 15. That's the early days. So we do have the beginnings of all of the stuff for this system being published. So whilst I have been critical of Walksnail for not doing it, it now looks like it's getting there, although we still don't have FCC for the goggles. But the fact we now have it for the VTX means the goggles are probably not going to be far behind. Now, something I will mention is in this new firmware for the Avatar system, they have added a low power mode for the goggles now. Now, it seems that they took the feedback I gave them on this as part of the firmware testing. Because if you remember, in all of my tests, the Avatar system goggles were on full output at all of the time. Whatever that output level was, it was set to when you had it connected last. However, now they have a low power mode on the goggles, just like the VTX. That low power mode is basically 25 milliwatts, and then it only goes to high power when you arm the quad. Now, I have already done the tests on this of what happens in signal loss. Do the goggles return to a lower power state? Because remember, in the Avatar system, the goggles are what permanently transmit and not the VTX. But the tests so far show that the goggles remain in high power mode and they only go to low power mode again upon receiving a disarming command from the VTX. So it seems that that is an improvement. Now, I am going to give him some more feedback because I think we should be lower than 25 milliwatts when not armed. Personally, I think they should be taking that down to maybe a couple of milliwatts if they can. The reason I know it's 25 is basically the level doesn't change. When you're on 25 milliwatts, between it being armed and not armed, there's no difference. So something interesting to also note is low power mode is pointless if you're just using 25 milliwatts. It makes no difference at all, other than changing the bit rate on the screen, but it doesn't change the RF output. But they have now added a low power mode on the goggles, which means it should be less temperamental at blowing everyone out. But 25 milliwatts is still a lot of power at the ground side. Bruce says, who uses 25 milliwatts? Just catching up on the chat. I make me hungry. Sorry about that. I was finishing my Welsh cake. See, Sean, you don't have people eating on your live stream. What about fixed latency mode? They have said that's coming in the next firmware update. I haven't seen it, but they said it's coming. And we have had this week the new Whoop VTX from Walksnail as well. I should have mentioned that, actually. See, look at the shocking state of affairs. We now have the new Whoop VTX. And actually, basically, it's a standard VTX without heatsink and lower power mode options. It's not dramatically different when we look at it. It's the same size PCB. So if I go to the desktop, I actually have some proper images of this. I was shared. But it's basically the same size as the standard VTX. Pretty much the same layout. The only real difference is that it has a lower voltage support. So you can see that it does 3.1 to 5 volt instead of higher voltages. It's lightweight, and then it's limited to 350 milliwatts. Now, the big difference is on this, and I've got the pictures for this, is that they've changed the power amplifier. It's not the same power amplifier. It's not the same PA as they had on the other one. It's reduced output, obviously. It'll be interesting to see how this behaves thermally. You know, it's lightweight, 6.8 grams. But if we look here, it's basically the same size unit. There's not a lot of size savings on it. But what I have seen on the images is they've changed the power amplifier. It's not got the same PA. The early model had both antenna ports, but it's only going to be a single antenna as well. What's up with the Beta FPV camera pod? Yeah, I think they've been working with Beta FPV on it. Do I need to change my firmware for the Avatar on the V2 goggles? Yes, Eden. I explained this at the start of the stream. Go back to the beginning and watch that, but don't go until I finish. You need the latest firmware, but if you're bothered about future hacks, go and watch the first part of the video. But yeah, it is out. I need to order. I tell you what, I was interested. The price of this isn't bad. You got to say that. The cost of this, $109 with a camera. That's not bad. That's like really, really not bad. I'm somewhat impressed with that, if I'm honest. It's not terrible at all. I think that's a pretty good deal. Let me see if I find the photos, and I'll show you guys what I was shared on this, so I can just show you it underneath. Where are the photos on this? There they are. Okay. So let me just add them onto my drive. $109, I buy a Mobula 6. Yeah, it's not bad, though, in digital terms, I'll be honest. No, Bruce, that's including the camera. 109 is including the cam, that's not bad. To be fair, that's not bad at all. I forgot the name of... Oh, Q. I wish I was using Apple again, my Macs. When I was using a Mac, I could have just sent stuff to it. But now I got to use a NAS to transfer stuff onto, to be able to actually find what I want to send. Right, let me find the pictures, and I will put them up. There we go. Upload. And then they'll end up on my NAS. So, it's not terrible. It's not bad pricing overall, I have to admit. I think it could be a lot worse. I think I've uploaded these before already. Okay, so to show you. So this is the top side of the board. Very, very similar overall. Actually, no, that's not the top side. Wait a minute. Right, that's definitely the bottom side of it. Right, that's definitely the bottom side of the new VTX, okay? So, same size overall. What you've then got is an antenna UFL connector on both areas. That is going to be removed as I understand it. That won't be there. But what you can see is there's a power amplifier here, and it looks like they experimented with it as being a dual antenna. Yes, Bruce. Yes, they are. But this one, obviously, they've not populated the PA. The PA isn't populated. As I understand it, this will all be... this won't be populated. So it's going to be single antenna, single PA down here into the main chip. But it's basically the same unit. And what they've done is scaled down the power. Basically, it's the same VTX with a lower end power circuit because it doesn't have the higher end power circuit. One amplifier instead of two, and a smaller amplifier instead of using that big 1200 milliwatt capable thing. And that's basically it. It is a different board because the other PA wouldn't fit on that footprint. It's actually a different board. But yeah, but it's not particularly small. It's not tiny. I will be honest with you. I was just trying to see if I had the other picture. No, I haven't. It's not tiny. Okay. I'm quietly optimistic about the Walksnail system. The hardware is good, firmware is improving. Okay, it is fair to say this. There is no other company other than... No, that's wrong. They are extremely communicative with the community and people who are talking about the system and they want feedback. they are as communicative, if that's the right word, as HDZero. They are absolutely wanting to make this work. For those who watch the channel regularly, you'd have known what I've said about them. Yet they have been open to all of the criticism. They have never once said, we don't think you're being fair or anything like that. And in fact, they have asked me for advice on certain things more than once. So they are absolutely taking feedback. And that can't be faulted. That can only be a good thing. Now, when I talked about this system, I had some very big red flags. No FCC documentation, bricking issues, poor performance with blocking. That was the big ones. So today they've virtually solved the FCC thing. So that can be basically ticked off. As soon as we see the documents for the goggles, that goes away for me. We've then got the bricking issues, which they say they've resolved, and I've seen no hints of that continuing. Then we're left with the compression issues, which they've pretty much solved, but they've created the problem of the poor dynamic range and color and stuff like that. Now, it is getting close for me to be able to say this system is out of beta. It's not quite there until I see all the documentation come in. Once all the documentation is published, I would be comfortable taking it out of beta status and then talking about this in a comparison and not, it's not ready to compare. And then people make their minds up on the difference between them. It isn't as good as DJI in many respects. The way that it breaks up, the way the RF link behavior isn't the same. It's not right. Not right isn't the right term, but it doesn't behave in a linear manner as DJI does. It's very much all nothing. But once they tick some of this stuff off, it actually is starting to look really, really good. It is. It really is. And look, they're taking huge amounts of feedback. Huge amounts of feedback. That isn't to say all of their behavior is 100% legit, and that might be something we talk about in a future. But overall, they are definitely trying to make the system work. And you can't fault them for that. But everyone is going to have a hard time when DJI release theirs. Let's be honest. If it looks like the Avata, everyone's going to have a hard time. The Quad City Bay Area, I'm guessing digital is only for freestyle, analog for FPV racing. HDZero is ideal for FPV racing. Digital for FPV, HDZero, absolutely. The lowest latency system. It is HD, regardless of what people say. Look at an analog camera. I've got one of the best analog cameras here in a VTX, and it's shocking. Anyone who says they can't see a difference in HDZero and analog is insane. There is definitely a difference. I'm not saying HDZero looks as good as the others. There are payoffs to a system having two-way packets compared to one-way. But nonetheless, HDZero is still digital. Yeah, it was definitely pushed too early. Should have tried. Yeah, there is no question Avatar was pushed out. Too early. Way too early. Way too early. Today, I wouldn't say it's ready for public consumption based on the fact they've pulled the firmware off. But once the documentation's out and everything, you know, look, we still don't have full FCC filings. How can you sell a product that doesn't have FCC filings? Come on. How low is the latency? I'm not a person that particularly feels a lot of latency. I adapt to it. I feel systems that feel a lot of latency, and I just get used to it. I'm not a racer. I'm not someone that is throwing a quad around a track very fast to be able to notice it. Do I feel it at times? Yeah, but I just adapt to it. I swear way too much is put into latency. Too many people are obsessed with latency when it really isn't the driving factor, unless you're in the Formula 1 of FPV, which is drone racing, and then it's a factor. Not for everyday pilots, in my opinion. It is on par with DJI. Best analog cam. Yeah, I've got a T-Rex right here. And it looks shocking. I was doing a video and I haven't actually done it. And have I still got the footage here or not? And I was doing a comparison between analog, digital. HDZero is way smoother than other digital links. That, yeah, definitely. It's, again, and this is a problem, right? How do you deliver? It's not just about latency. It's about how the image is delivered to the user, how the user interprets latency, how the user reacts to latency. Every person is different. Just like you can pick up 5 sets of FPV goggles and they're different. I don't believe all of the hype that latency is a major factor for every single pilot, when it just simply isn't a reality. Does it affect the top 20% of pilots? Absolutely. 100%. But if you're flying around the park, latency isn't really an issue, regardless of what system you're flying. It's down to what you're doing. When it comes to racing, HDZero hands down. I'm really looking forward to the HDZero goggles. Won't be too long, hopefully now. I can't wait to see what Carl has done with that. We know he has been doing some really interesting work there. I know in the last sort of 6 months, there's been a lot of talk about Avatar, DJI, Walksnail. HDZero is there. Its time will come. The talk will come when the system has something big to talk about. We've had the new cameras. They have come out, but the big news is going to be now these goggles. And that's, you know, look, HDMI in, HDMI out, open source software, analog bay on the side option, railings on the front for the antennas. There's a lot to like. Did I mention HDMI in, HDMI out? And here's something that's really interesting. Avatar is making a receiver module, and I have a feeling that the HDZero goggles might be the best goggle to use with it. I think it's, yeah, Carl's got some interesting stuff. You know, when I was talking to him on the interview, you know, 1080p 30 is a real possibility. I don't know how it will look. I'd like to see, it'd be interesting to see it, just to see how that would look. The new cameras are very, very good. Anyone who says there isn't a difference, it's night and day. Does HDZero, though, look different compared to DJI? Yeah. You know, DJI has a very nice crispness to it that HDZero can't have at times. It's just the way the two-way packet link works. Does it benefit in penetration? Absolutely. DJI will outperform it in penetration tests most of the time. That's just as a result of the inherent, it's physics. It's not that the system's bad, it's just physics. But wait till this comes out and then they're all going to be worried, because that's just going to knock things further again when DJI do that. So image quality for Avatar, image quality for the old DJI system goes out the window, because when that comes, if that looks like that, if this, the new FPV system, this thing here, looks like that, then the game has shifted again, and everyone's going to have to up their game. It's not going to be one person, it's everyone is going to have to up their game. It will roll the industry forward once again. So that's what we're likely to see. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't mush at all. I ain't responding to that. But we're going to have to see what comes when this thing releases. This is a 3D print, which I'm not going to talk about, but this is something I was sent. Moving on. Yeah, so we're going to have to see. He's fishing. Basically, will there be HDZero for races? No, HDZero is absolutely suitable for everyone else as well. Look, HDZero looks really nice in wings as well. The area HDZero sort of falls over, for me, is low-level flying in heavy detail. That's where HDZero sort of falls over. So if we look, HDZero is really good at slower speed, high level. It's really good at racing because it doesn't need that detail instantly. Where it starts to sort of soften up for me is sort of lower level, lower speed flying, not racing. It just doesn't have the crispness DJI has. That's the thing. But look, they are inherently different. You have to take that into account. They're not the same systems. One prioritizes latency, one prioritizes image quality. That's the very, very basics of the situation. One does one does the other. Yeah, DJI will look better a lot of the time. It's designed to. That's just what it's designed to do. But you won't get the same latency on DJI as you will HDZero. So it's a balance. It really is. It's always a balance. Everything is about the right system for the choice. I spent a good solid 3 months flying HDZero only, and I'll be honest, I was more than happy. I haven't flown it for... Well, I actually have flown it. I'm lying. I've flown it yesterday because I was flying it on this yesterday. I have a review of this coming up this week, as does Sean at Geeksvana, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're interested in watching it, please do make sure that you are subscribed to Sean at Geeksvana's channel, because he also has a review of one of these coming this week as well. But yeah, I've been flying this last couple of days. What a fun bit of kit this is, I have to say. This is a real bit of fun as a bind and fly. HDZero, off the shelf, HDZero, Express ELRS, 200 milliwatts, VTX, the Nano V1 camera is a really good little aircraft. I haven't had as much flight time on it as I would have liked because it's just been raining here ever since it came to me. You'll like the 1080p30 mode. I bet we will. But what a bit of kit this aircraft is. Just a bit of fun. It really, really is. Just puts a smile on your face. Goes really well. I got a review coming on it. It's not the typical style of aircraft I fly. It's nowhere near as much flight footage in it as I would have liked. It's just been constant rain here. I've just managed to get out a little bit, but it's a really good bit of kit. I like this a lot. I like this a lot. Not a bad piece of kit. And Sean has just said he is going to be giving one away. I'm keeping mine. I like it too much. Sorry, lads, I'm not going to give mine away. I actually like it. It is a really good little quad. It really, really is a good little quad. Goes like stink. Tell you what did catch me out. I'll show you a bit of the footage. I nearly had the ground because the rates were not quite what I was expecting on the first flight. And I'll show you it because it's quite funny, actually. Where is it? Where have I hidden it? There it is. And where is the footage from my phone? My wife was recording as I headed off. And yeah, it caught me out well and truly. Here it is. Right, then let me just make sure if I got it. Yeah, here we go. Right. Have I got desktop audio turned on? No, I haven't. So let me just turn on desktop audio. Here you go. Right. Right, I'm going to play this. So it just caught me out. This was the first flight on it. And the rates caught me. And you can see I nearly had the ground as I went off. It was very, very close. As I was... let me get back a bit. I had a bit of a dip and I was like, ooh! That's not right. That's not doing what I wanted it to do. And you can actually see it on the flight footage. Let me find the flight footage for that flight, because it was like, ooh, that's not what I was expecting. It was like, ooh, okay. That caught me out. Is it this one? No. Let's have a look. Is it this one? I also have some of the footage in the wrong recording mode as well. Typically, there's some quirks on HDZero at times on how it records the DVR with the Sky Zone goggles, and I had it in the wrong bloody mode. Is it this one? Let me just check it. I think it is. Yeah, right. Okay, got it. If I show you this. Yeah, this, ignore the aspect. This is my mess up on the first, this one. But you'll see it on here now. Oh, I was like, whoa, where am I going? Where am I going? Right, we're up. Caught me out a little bit. It really did. But I tell you what, it's a great little aircraft. It really is a great little aircraft. Really is not bad at all. Goes really, really well. Just didn't get enough flight time on it before the rain set in. Just a couple of flights just to have a play, just to see how it moves around. But yeah, it goes well. Goes really, really well when you get used to it. I'm going to enjoy flying that a lot more. Just catching up on the chat a second, because Ryan's giving away secrets. If you don't know who Ryan is, he's one of the guys that helps Carl. He runs the Discord group. He doesn't work for HDZero, but he is a massive supporter of the system. But he's a user like everyone else. You know, the amount of time he devotes just because he loves the system so much is incredible. What he said is 1080. I've lost it. There it is. 1080p 30 will be 33 milliseconds plus 3 milliseconds for 1080p 30 frame. How's that? It's not too far off Walksnail than DJI. That's pretty good. That would be cool. I'm looking forward to seeing that. 1080p 30 on HDZero could look very, very nice. Very nice indeed. Very much looking forward to that. And look, with the new goggles around the corner, we'll have the HDZero goggles, HDMI in and out. I'm going to say it again, HDMI in and out. There is not another goggle on the market that offers that today. Not a single goggle on the market. Not only will you have HDZero built in, HDMI, HDMI out. It is going to be fantastic. I cannot wait. I just hope they fit me, because I don't want to have to say the fitment is crap like DJI. You hear me, Ryan? They better fit me. They better fit me. Yeah, the analog input as well. Don't forget. This is a goggle, right, that you could potentially have HDZero, analog, and Walksnail on. Hello. Just looking forward to that. Walksnail making a VRX. They are. Other than streaming, there is no use for HDMI in and out. Lots of use for in, out less so, but a lot of people like to record, have friends see it on a DVR, have a monitor next to them. Lots and lots of reasons to have HDMI output. I don't blame. It's gone off. Look, there is a place for more than one digital system. There's no, in your kit bag, no matter, depending on what you're doing. Fully intend to put the Walksnail VRX on it. We need an SDR that we can put on our Sky Zones to receive all the digital protocols. Why on the Sky Zones, Bruce? They can go on the HDZeros. There's no reason otherwise. HDMI is literally, it's not in or out. Remember what Greg said? It's in or out. Well, Carl took in or out and made it in and out. Routing the DJI goggles allows people to run additional code. So, sorry, let me read the question. I have a habit of answering a question without reading it. So, Red Tech has asked, what does routing the goggles actually do? So, it's like an Android phone. It allows you to run unassigned code or other code on the goggles. So as such, routing the DJI goggles allows people to make apps. And for instance, it has allowed someone to write basically full OSD on DJI via MSP. We have full MSP OSD on DJI now. They're just updating the font kit in the new version, and it looks bloody amazing. Bloody amazing. Now, I was going to talk about the new avatar firmware tonight as well with the new font kit and everything, but I can't because they've pulled it. DJI Goggles 2 VTX has same chipset as Walksnail. No. DJI does not use the same chipset as Walksnail, or I should say Walksnail does not use the same chipset as DJI. They are related in the sense of, let me just think of the easiest term for they're related. They're related in the sense of all cars run on petrol or diesel. Two petrol cars are the same because they run on the same fuel. That's how they're related. Yeah, the avatar, there was a lot to talk about in that new release, but they've pulled it. Something they have done as well is updated the fonts on the avatar system. It looks so much better. And you don't get the size switching now between the modes. So when you used to go to low latency and full size mode, you used to get the OSD change size. They fixed that now, although you still don't have a full 16:9 OSD. Basically, it is getting to the stage where I will re-review the avatar system from scratch because so much has changed. It is really getting to that stage because it's a completely different system today. It genuinely is a completely different system. I was hoping to fly it early this week, but it'll now be the end of the week because I'm having to travel. Six months too late. It's not 6 months, but it's a good 3. It's taken its time. It's taken its time. But as I said at the time, are you saying DJI has the potential to be better than Walksnail? DJI can wipe the park from an image quality point of view with everyone right now. If DJI deliver the same image quality as they've got in this, then it's game over for image quality. It's end game. It's not even a discussion point anymore. If DJI do what they have done in this, then it's end game. There's no discussion on image quality because it's DJI. End of, game over. No one will catch that for a long time. HDZero might be able to improve. It'll look great. I'm not saying it won't. But if DJI do that, if they're doing what we think they're going to do, it's not the end of Walksnail because we don't know what DJI are going to give us. There is talk that it still won't have MSP DisplayPort. It is still DJI Custom OSD. So there are limitations to the system. We don't know for sure what DJI are going to give you. And are you going to be happy paying $250 to $300 an ear unit that we believe it's going to be? Good long-range antennas for the Walksnail. Right. I'm using the TrueRC X2 ears. TrueRC. Let me find them. TrueRC Canada. He's got a great blog as well. If you didn't know, he's got an amazing blog. And look at this. Look what's on his blog. Look at this. TrueRC's blog. One of my videos. I wonder how that got there. If you're looking for long range, receiver, ultra long range and long range, you've got the X2 ears. These are going to give you pretty much the best overall. Or the X-Ear Mark IIs. You've got the option of both. So, yeah, if you're going to get that. the X2, right? The big difference between the X2As and the XAs is there's a difference in the beam width. So the XA2 is a single antenna. So you've got two elements for two outputs or inputs, depending on which way it is. The X2A combines the two into one to give you a single higher performing antenna that has a better overall beam width than it does a beam height. So depending on your flying style, it will depend what's better for you. But the True RC XAs I'm using on the Walksnail system. That's what I'm using on it. And they're very good. The new Maple Wireless Ones rocks. Funny enough, talking about antennas, I've just installed these because I needed some more antennas for my Walksnail system because I chopped one up in a prop. It got caught. I had a hard landing and it bent the antenna into the prop and I chopped one. So I've just had these in before we finish up. Foxeer Lollipop 4s. Now, I haven't tried these before. Unfortunately, I couldn't get any True RCs in the UK. The stock was out at the dealer I was at, and I needed antennas. So I've got these. I don't know what these are like. 4+, lollipops. Ordered them in. I've had to make a custom bracket to hold them on the back, but they're now on there, as you can see. I had to print some inserts for this bracket tonight on the back. Hard landing. Yeah. Crash, Bruce. But I don't know what they're like. I don't know what they're like yet. If anyone's got any feedback, please do let me know. But they look all right. They look decent. I do like the colour. Don't show that to Chris Rosser. Wobble it, Chris. Feel it wobble, Chris. Yes, I know. Chris strives for the ultimate in anti-vibration. I don't care. I crash too much to care. What did I order? Yeah, left hands. I thought I had. You got me thinking then, Bruce. Yeah, left hands. Yeah, they are. I had to think for a second if I ordered the right ones. Have I had them on the meter? Yes, I have. And the chart looks very similar to what they publish on the website. I do have a problem, though, measuring UFL antennas because I'm having to use a pigtail between the two. Yes, there is no difference in an antenna that is for digital or analog. So, Quad City Bay Area, thank you for the super chat. Amazing. Antennas for analog and digital compatible. An antenna is an antenna. There is no such thing as a digital or analog antenna. As long as it's for the right frequency and it's a quality antenna, it will do the job. I strongly recommend True RC antennas. These are they make some of the best antennas on the market. I would use them everywhere if I could. It's just I can't always get them. Dealers don't always have them in stock, so I have to buy what I can get. Sorry, Hugo, but I ended up having to get these because I couldn't get any True RCs. He helped me with that video. If I go back on the blog, if you haven't seen it, and if you're new to FPV and want to know about antennas, this video is well worth a look. I put this together about antennas, and it tells you what you need to know. It really does tell you what you need to know. And it's well worth a look. And yeah, Hugo put it up on his website. It's one I've wanted to do for a long, long time. And there are bits I wish I'd have put in it. There are bits I wish I'd have put in it, which I didn't. But yeah, it's well worth a look. It's a good video, even if I say so myself as the person who made it. What are the antennas from the goggles to, right or left? We don't know. I suspect, according to the specs, they're linear polarized, omnidirectional. We don't believe there's any circular polarization on goggles 2. Thank you, Bobby Bags. I appreciate that. Even if I say so myself, that I put 4 videos out that week, and I think every one of them was a good one. Genuinely, that was a good week of content. You won't get that all the time, folks. Sorry. What that means for 03, I don't know. I don't know. You've got to take into account the cross polarization is less of an issue with multi-in, multi-out systems. So the old theory is that you get -3 dB if you cross polarize, potentially -6, but -3. But take into account that's very old basic logic on single input output systems. DJI is MIMO, multi-in, multi-out, or MIMO, multi-in, multi-out. So that in itself changes the impact of using cross-polarization. And add into account that we don't know what DJI are doing with their multi-in, multi-out, in the sense of we don't know if they're using spatial diversity or if we don't know if they're using the other kind of diversity. You've got spatial and you've got packet diversity. And what the difference between the two is, one replicates the packets across 2 antenna ports. Okay, so if you imagine you have, you've got spatial diversity. I can't remember, the other term will come to me in a minute. They've gone, but the basics are this. One takes the packet of data and transmits it on both antennas. So it transmits on 2 and receives on 2, okay? So the goggles takes the same piece of information and transmits it on both antennas at the same time. And it then uses that as how it sends everything out. Or then you have the kind of diversity in digital systems which splits the packets across each antenna. So say packet 1 on antenna 1, packet 2 on antenna 2, back and forth, 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 and then rebuilds that later on. Now, the difference that's important to understand in this is how it will affect the antenna choice. So, for instance, if you have DJI's diversity where it splits the packets equally across 2 antenna ports, the best setup for that system is 1 omnidirectional and 1 directional antenna, because you're going to get the best of both worlds. You're going to have 1 antenna transmit it locally everywhere and 1 antenna transmit it more long-range directional in that area. And that will give you the best overall performance. But if they're using the type of diversity where they split the packets across the 2, then it actually becomes a far more complicated situation, because you could then have an omni and a patch antenna, and you'll have half the packets going on the omni and half the packets going on the patch. And whilst that would be okay in some situations, in others, you're not going to get the same range. So we don't know what kind of diversity DJI are doing. And that is a complex part of the system we don't fully understand yet. My belief is they're sending the same packets on both. And let me just check the terms, because I'm annoyed I can't remember the term for this. Let me just find it a minute. Okay, so the two are multiplexed, spatial diversity and multiplex diversity. That is the 2 different systems. I couldn't remember what they were called a minute. It makes sense. So you've got multiplex diversity and spatial diversity. Spatial diversity is the mode where the same packets are transmitted on both antennas. Multiplex diversity is the mode where it shares the packets out between each antenna. And it is a complicated situation. Now, I would expect DJI are using spatial diversity where they put the same packets on each antenna port. That's what I would expect. Because I'll be honest, I think we would have seen some really odd behavior if we hadn't. And what they actually do is send the same packets on the same antenna, but not quite at the same time. They time them slightly differently. And then it uses the difference in timing to be able to tell what the signal to noise ratio between each set of packets is. And it uses that to multiplex them back together and mix them back up in the front end and actually create a packet from it. And the DJI system, or these systems, add it all in together. And it's very complicated. I only understand about 1% of it myself. My only concern is concrete penetration, analog or digital. That's complicated, Quad City Bay Area. Digital DJI is probably better than all of them in that respect. Or Avatar, but DJI, I would say right now. Hello, Johnny 5. John 5. Did I see his name somewhere? I said we don't get. Do we? We don't get to know. Behave. I'm trying to be kind to Drew. You need a hammer drill. Yeah. DJI is probably the best through concrete right now. Then Avatar. Then HDZero. Stroke analog. They'll be about the same. What do you think about the range of Avatar? It is. I know people who are range testing Avatar well beyond 14 kilometers, but there are quirks to its behavior which has prevented them releasing videos yet. Whilst it's capable of doing long range, there are issues with its behavior at long range. Avatar, I haven't flown it long range. I'm not flying a Cinewhoop silly miles. It doesn't have the best antenna setup, if I'm honest. The Avatar doesn't. You have the antennas on the sides here. Lowboard, I remember last month you didn't think DJI would bring anything substantial to the table, and I kept saying, the thing with DJI is you never know what they're going to do. And just take into account, just because they bring something new, it could be very expensive and people don't necessarily want it. And I still maintain the fact of whatever DJI bring may not be for everyone. Not everyone is going to want to spend $250 to $300 on an ear unit with a fixed camera. There won't be third-party cameras. You're going to have a DJI-only camera on this ear unit. You're going to have that. If you break it, you're going to have to go to DJI to get that camera. You're going to have to then have that. So it's not going to be the same as the current system. I don't believe there'll be any third-party cameras for the new ear units because it's going to be far more integrated than we've seen before, but you will get the quality. The chair is good, Mr. E. The chair is very good. Right, guys, I'm going to wrap this one up because we're nearly 2 hours. I want to say a massive, massive thank you to everyone who's watched the stream tonight. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's donated on the Super Chats. It's been incredible. We will be back, same time, same place next week, where we may have some firmware from Avatar to talk about. I don't know what's going to happen. There's some videos going live on the channel this week. If you'd like to support the channel, there are links to my Patreon in the description. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who supports the channel via Patreon. I would not be able to do it without your support. Please do check it out if you want to look after us as well, to help us to keep me, to help me keep making content like this on the channel. Anyway, that's it from me. Stay safe, look after yourself, and I will speak to you soon. Now I got to go and find the button. Where is it? There it is. 1, 2. See you later.